One of the most common things that I hear from leaders today is that they feel their teams are aligned. And on the surface, that often looks really true. But when we take a closer look, what we usually find underneath is something very different in the lived experience of a team. There are different experiences between the members. Sometimes that is different levels of clarity. Sometimes it's different levels of frustration or the tension being experienced that are often unspoken. And a team that looks aligned at the surface level is actually quite fragmented underneath. And what's interesting is that these leaders are usually genuinely surprised when it all becomes visible. And that's not because they're disconnected or not doing their job or out of touch, but because misalignment today is usually pretty quiet. It shows up quietly between the people nodding along or issues being talked around rather than actually talked about. So the gap between what leaders think is happening and what the team is really experiencing really starts to grow wider. And when teams aren't genuinely aligned, then of course, the performance of the team starts to take a hit. And even that can be hidden, especially if a team is, making the numbers or making plan. So how we've traditionally measured performance is through those numbers, only to realize that so much was being left on the table. So the question really isn't about does your team look aligned, but it's whether are people on the team having the same experience of clarity, ownership, and direction. And that's often where the most important conversations really need to start.